Psychiatrist erased trauma in one session, then lost her lab funding entirely. The eye movements she discovered triggered something the brain does naturally, but only during sleep. In 1987, Francine Shapiro was walking in a park. A graduate student in psychology, she was carrying something heavy inside her, old memories, thoughts she could not put down. As she walked, she noticed something strange. Her eyes were moving back and forth on their own, and when they did, the dark thoughts she had been circling suddenly felt lighter, less sharp, almost distant. She stopped. She tried making the eye movements on purpose. Left, right, left, right. The same thing happened. The distress shrank. Most people would have shrugged and kept walking. But Francine Shapiro was not most people. She had survived cancer. She had changed careers. She was the kind of person who noticed small things and asked whether they were small at all. She went back to her program and started testing. She began with friends and fellow students. She would have them recall a disturbing memory while following her fingers with their eyes left to right in sets about 30 seconds. The results were immediate and confusing. People who had carried anxiety for months, sometimes years, reported that the memories simply did not hurt anymore, not suppressed, not buried. The emotional charge was gone. They could think about the event the way you think about what you had for lunch last Tuesday. She did not have a lab. She did not have funding. She did not even have a theory that made sense. But she had something that worked, and she wanted to know why. The brain already has a system for processing difficult memories. It runs every night during the phase of sleep where your eyes dart rapidly beneath closed lids, REM sleep. Scientists had known for years that REM sleep helps the brain sort, file, and soften emotional memories from the day. What Shapiro had stumbled into, possibly, was a way to trigger that same process while the person was wide awake. The eye movements seemed to unlock the brain's natural filing system, taking memories stuck in survival mode and reconsolidating them as ordinary, neutral recollections. But you cannot publish a paper that says I walked in a park and my trauma went away. You need a trial. You need data. You need institutional backing. She designed one. She secured a small grant and ran the first formal study of eye movement desensitization, later known as EMDR. She treated 22 survivors of trauma, combat veterans, assault survivors, people who had carried severe post-traumatic stress for years. After a single session, the majority showed dramatic improvement. Some no longer met the clinical criteria for trauma at all. The numbers were unlike anything the field had seen. And that, paradoxically, was the problem. When something works too well, and you cannot explain the mechanism in a way the establishment recognizes, the establishment does not lean in, it pulls back. Her peers called it pseudoscience. They said the eye movements were irrelevant, that any improvement came from exposure therapy, that she was dressing up old techniques in theatrical packaging. Journals rejected her papers. Reviewers questioned her credentials. Conference organizers quietly declined her submissions. She kept going anyway. She trained clinicians. She published case studies. She built a network of therapists who were getting results they could not deny, even if they could not fully explain them. Then the lab that had given her space pulled its support. The funding dried up. The institutional door closed. She had no permanent academic position, no major backer, no safety net. For 15 years, she worked in that gap, not inside the university, not outside the field, somewhere in between, where the evidence kept growing and the acceptance kept lagging. Here is where it gets revealing. Independent researchers across multiple countries began replicating her findings. They ran controlled trials. They compared EMDR against existing treatments. Over and over, the pattern held. EMDR was not only effective, it was often faster than the alternatives. Patients who had spent years in traditional therapy found relief in sessions that lasted under an hour. By the late 1990s, the clinical evidence was overwhelming. The International Society for Traumatic Stress Studies published treatment guidelines that included EMDR. The American Psychological Association followed. So did the Department of Defense. So did the World Health Organization. The method that had been called pseudoscience was now standard practice. The woman who had been dismissed was now training thousands of clinicians worldwide, but the lab that pioneered it never reopened. The institutional support that vanished in those early years never returned in any meaningful form. The research gap, the years of silence trials, the patients who could have been treated earlier, all of that stayed buried. Francine Shapiro did not get a dramatic vindication moment. There was no single day when the establishment apologized. What happened instead was quieter, and in some ways more damning. The field simply absorbed her method, cited it in guidelines, and moved on as though the years of dismissal had never occurred. She continued teaching and refining the approach until her death in 2019. By then, EMDR had been delivered to millions of patients in over 100 countries. It is used in war zones, in emergency rooms, in private practices, in prisons. It is one of the most thoroughly researched trauma treatments in existence. And yet, the question of exactly why it works is still not fully settled. The eye movement component, the very thing that made it seem implausible, continues to draw debate. Some researchers believe it taxes working memory, leaving less capacity for the emotional intensity of the memory. Others maintain it genuinely mirrors REM processing. The mechanism remains partly open. What is not open is the outcome. The clinical data is massive. The patients are real. The recoveries are documented. The most disturbing part of this story is not that she was dismissed. Dismissal happens in science. It is that the dismissal lasted so long despite consistent evidence, and that the cost of that delay was borne entirely by the people waiting for help. The institutions that closed the door did not lose anything. The patients did. Science is supposed to be self-correcting, but the correction often arrives late and quietly, and without acknowledgement of the years it cost. Francine Shapiro found something in a park that day, something the brain already knew how to do. It took 15 years and the collapse of her lab for the rest of the world to listen. If this surprised you, comment below and follow for the next chapter. Subscribe to the Suppressed Lab for more buried experiments that were